say a couple of remarks. I just want to say personally to you how important recovery is, and that's a vital part of the full system of services and supports that we are interested in and prioritizing and investing in. And the lived experience of people with addiction and mental health issues and recovery experience is just a vital part um, of being well, and of making sure that our planning and our policies and our resources are heading in the right direction too. So we really appreciate connecting with you, working with you, and are continuing our commitment to recovery. And these are really challenging times. I think recovery plays an even more vital role right now in helping support people through a lot of the emotional distress that's brought on by the pandemic as well. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and I'm excited to learn more.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll do the introductions of the Ohio Mass staff that's on the line. Of course, we have Director Lori Chris, we have Assistant Director Alicia Clark of Community Planning and Collaboration. We have Dr. Justin Trevino, he's the Medical Director. We have Joyce Starr, who is the Chief of Recovery Supports. We have Zandaya Lawson, who is the manager of the Peer Service and Employment Team and a mental health administrator, and then myself as Community Recovery Supports Lead. Mark, I will let you introduce your staff, but I would like to say briefly to our director, Director Chris, we've worked with this agency for just about a year. Smart Recovery is a new project. They respond, as you know, there are many pathways to recovery, and this is another venue to connect with peers. Even though Smart Recovery addresses a vast, broad variety of recovery, I'm learning in the field that peer supporters are using Smart Recovery to achieve and maintain recovery, and they're also facilitating Smart Recovery groups. And so I'm really excited for us to hear, for you all, the leadership team, to hear all of the great work that they're doing. So with that, Mark, I will let you introduce your team and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. First and foremost, I really want to thank all of you for giving up what I know is a very busy schedule for all of us, and the opportunity for this presentation to occur. We hope the outcome will be to strengthen the awareness of what each other's missions are, their objectives, and then also a little bit more about each of us in support of our recovery. The objective here is to be somewhat informal. Yes, we have a lot of information that we want to pass on to you. Some of that will be in the form of video, some of that will be in the form of our open conversation. But one way or the other, please feel comfortable in stopping, pausing, raising your hand, and we will make sure that we can answer your questions as appropriate. I would say that as it relates to the national office staff members that are here, each of them have a very, very, very lived and very professional connection to not only recovery, but mental health. And we all have what we call smart hearts. And that's a requirement to be an effective member of our team. And that is a core requirement for the hundreds of thousands of volunteers that serve and support us, or that we have helped over the years. So I just want to make sure I say that to you all, that we are very peer support oriented, and that includes our boards and all. So having said that, I'm going to have each person just briefly say something about yourself and your background, your role with SMART, and then whatever else you feel comfortable in sharing. Christy, you just follow the order of, are you guys able to see the PowerPoint slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christy?
Okay.
Oh, wait, excuse me. Let me lead off. My background, I joined SMART, I'm sorry about that. I joined SMART almost 2 years as of September. Prior to working with Smart Recovery, I was the executive director for Western Reserve Counseling. We had 6 professional treatment providers. We had worked in our Lake County area, and we did a lot of anger management, domestic violence. We did the whole gamut of standard counseling, and obviously addiction was part of that all together. There's a lot of dual diagnoses that were part of that process. So, but I also have a background from a standpoint of previous. I was the director of fund development for Big Brothers Big Sisters in our local area. I served as a board member for them many years, and I also had 2 little brothers in the course of my upbringing. And individually, I was part of the system to be helped by the nonprofits. I was raised in an orphanage in Pennsylvania, and I have been a person who's been given help from others, and I try to give back on my own level. So having said that, Christy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for welcoming us here today and meeting with us. I am the Assistant Executive Director. I've been with SMART for about 5.5 years, and prior to coming to SMART, I was with NAMI of Lake County for 9 years, and I was the mental health ombudsman for Lake County. I also did some drug and alcohol counseling for a brief period, which overlapped both jobs in Cuyahoga County as a CDCA. I loved all of those. I am also a family member of persons with mental illness and addiction, so I can relate on many levels to many of the individuals that we work with. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Lise Day. I'm originally from Grafton, Ohio, went to school in Syracuse, New York, and then served in the Air Force in Great Falls, Montana with the ICBM maintenance outfit there. And during that time, I was recruited, my degree's in business, but I was recruited into the not-for-profit sector. My first directorship was with the Retired Senior Volunteer Program. And then I started the Big Brothers Big Sisters program in Lorain County. Got that agency certified for prevention and got myself certified for prevention. And then I just most recently spent 3 years with the drug court in Lorain County, the felony drug court, and then supporting 2 municipal drug courts getting started. And I started with Smart Recovery in November.
And Lisa is our grant writer, administrator, research person, and has done a tremendous job in taking us to another level of our grant work. So again, thank you, Lisa. Melina?
Hi, I'm Melina Gilbert. I have been with SMART now for 4 years. Started out as just a part-time person doing some basic projects for SMART. Last year, I took on the role of volunteer outreach coordinator, working with all of our volunteers, making sure they have the resources that they need and the guidance they need to do what they do. Prior to coming to SMART, I spent 14 years as an executive director for another nonprofit that worked with local churches to educate them about services that were in the area for people coming to them for help. I also volunteered with NAMI. So Christy and I are old buds for like the last 17 years. We've done presentations together and worked together in Lake County to really help those with mental illness and the chemical dependency and addictions.
Thank you, Melina. And Ray?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having us this morning. I'm probably the newest person to SMART. I've only been with the agency since November. I retired from the Lake County Adams Board in October. I was there for almost 6 years as their community outreach and specialist and educator, and coordinated their suicide prevention coalition. Before that, I worked for Crossroads, which is a children's services agency in Lake County. I was there for about 23 years doing prevention, and became the coordinator, director of their prevention services before I came to the Adams Board. Christy and I actually are mental health first aid trainers. When she was at NAMI, we did that training together, and I was on the board of NAMI for several years. Right now, I am a facilitator for SMART's Family and Friends program, and I do a group on Thursday evenings for family and friends, currently online by Zoom, which is a little challenging for my skill level, but you know, we've become a real family. And being a person who has family members with mental illness and addiction issues, that really is very meaningful for me. So I'm really happy to be part of the SMART family.
Thank you, Ray. And Ray is also working with us on our group training, both in support of our ability to use this particular training center here that we're at right now, but also with the online Zoom group training. And we'll be speaking about that a little bit more in the future here. So on this presentation. So thank you, Ray. And then Mike.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Mike Cooper. You don't have to adjust your mics. I'm from North Jersey. That's my actual accent. I'm not faking that. I just moved here to Ohio recently in February. I took over the regional coordinator position for Northeast Ohio for the Smart Recovery face-to-face meetings, which are now obviously on Zoom due to the pandemic. I've been with Smart Recovery for about a little over 3 years now. I was introduced actually through the VA in West Haven, Connecticut, and I've been involved in the program ever since. I'm a veteran from the United States Army, 2nd 113th, 42nd ID, and I'm proud to be here today. Thank you very much.
And actually, you'll be hearing a little bit more from Mike because he will be speaking very shortly about his own personal lived experience and how he came to SMART. But I do want to mention, he mentioned he was the Ohio Regional Coordinator. That's one of the positions that is one of our highest level of volunteer positions. And every one of those individuals also are lived life or have a professional experience with the treatment and support of addiction or mental health individuals. So again, from Mike's viewpoint, when he did come to Ohio, just very briefly, he's already helped with the Cleveland veterans in working us to get our online meetings to support them. And we'll also talk about that a little bit more. So having said that, we're going to try to work on a compressed period of time. I am going to now ask Mike to say a few things, and then we'll come back around to maybe a short video to give you a little bit more of a briefing of some of the key things about Smart Recovery.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning again, everyone. So if you see on the slide there, that picture there that is actually me. And the young soldier you see in that picture actually was harboring a terrible secret. For over a decade, he had been hopelessly addicted to alcohol and suffering from clinical depression. Over the next 10 years, I would lose friends, the trust of family, be terminated from jobs and incarcerated, all directly connected to my alcohol abuse. I would make numerous attempts to quit, therapy, 12-step programs, but nothing was effective. I wanted direct answers to the issues that were causing my problems. Yet too many times I was asked to put my faith into a higher power or in strangers that said they would sponsor me through my ordeal. As a soldier and a member of an urban minority community, putting trust in strangers or concepts you do not believe in went against everything I had been taught. I believed in God, but I felt abandoned by him. So faith was something I did not carry. Being told I was powerless against my addiction only enraged me further. I was truly lost and I thought I'd never find my way. I decided to reach out to the military services I had served so many years ago for help. I called the VA crisis line, and it was from there I was eventually introduced into Smart Recovery. From my very first meeting, I knew my life was about to change. Gone was the over-reliance on higher powers and feeling hopeless against combating my addiction. In Smart, the very first thing we were taught was that we could learn the tools to become self-empowered rather than remain powerless. We asked direct questions. We got direct answers. Finally, there was a clear path. Finally, there was a purpose. That was 3 years ago. I sit before you now truly transformed. I became a facilitator for this program, began my own meeting back in New Jersey, and proudly mentored the participants who became facilitators themselves. Those individuals now lead that group. I accepted the honor of becoming regional coordinator for the great state of Ohio, and I have no intention of slowing down. This is the program that people need. Those who suffer from addiction want to know they have the chance to save themselves. This program has the ability to not only give them that chance, but have them earn it through self-management. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been given the opportunity to further a cause that is changing the way our great nation fights addiction and disruptive behavior. Smart Recovery is on the front lines of this war, and I am honored to be included in their ranks. I hope you will listen with open hearts to this presentation and come away from it as inspired as I was. Thank you all again for your time today, and I'll turn this back over to Mark.
Thank you, Mike. And I have had the pleasure to work with Mike on any number of interactions with different organizations, and his story is very heartfelt and shared, and that has a lot of value and impact. I can promise you, as it relates to the individuals that he works with. He also does one very important thing that we found to be very successful, very important in our growth, and that is he helps individuals that have come to be helped by SMART. He helps them to motivate them to also give back of their own time to help others. And that's really a very powerful process, as you might all understand, in our development of our volunteers. When they have a shared life experience to be able to contribute and can relate to participants that come to us, it comes across when they facilitate meetings. And we are not counselors, but we certainly have something that we can offer structurally for them. So thank you, Mike, for that.
Thank you.
I just want to speak briefly. Yes, Ellie, you can proceed. SMART has been around since 1992. And I will share with you that when I took over this responsibility, which I value tremendously, our organization was very well known on a worldwide level, but I would say we've grown what I call through organic measures. We have invested so much into our programs and our volunteer work on a state-by-state level that we may have forgotten that our home state of Ohio is at the epicenter of the crisis ourselves, and in our own local backyards in our Lake Jaga, Ashtabula, Cuyahoga County, we have that same footprint in our own area. So I was kind of overblown by the amount of information that I had to take on, and with Christy's help and the leadership team from the board, they were able to help bring me along. But after a while, it became clear that we needed to change our story on the local level. And through the help of Congressman Joyce, through the help of Senator Eklund and State Representative John Rogers, they were very kind to listen to us, and quite literally, they were the ones that kind of helped us to get started with your mental health and addiction service group. And we now feel like it's our job now to earn that going forward by working with you and alongside you and collaborating, communicating, and continuing to grow. So we appreciated their getting us started, but we value the work that we've done with Sharon, Zendaya, and we look forward to doing more with all of you as we get to know more and more of your missions and how we can align ourselves together. So I wanted to say that. Also, our pathways, our multiple pathways is so critical to the organization. We don't believe there's any one size that fits all. We embrace every organization, every treatment professional, every person that puts their heart into helping others. We have a huge crisis, and just this graphic shows that all of the alcohol, the opioids, the cocaine, and all of the abuse, in addition to the sex, the food disorders, and all of the other kinds of addictions that are out there, we have a big problem that even with all of the great organizations we have, still isn't enough. And then if you add in this current state we're in called COVID-19, it's just incredibly heavy as it relates to the stressors that's been added to individuals that desperately need our help. Now, we have been very blessed to be able to help with this movement, this needed emergency of moving our face-to-face meetings to online. And we've done over 600 of those using our Zoom meetings that we are now using, but it has been a tremendous challenge to the organization relevant to our volunteers, to our leadership, even the economics of losing revenue from COVID-19, which everyone else is also realizing. We also realize you're hampered. You've been given 20% cuts. We can't tell you how impressed we are with the leadership from Ohio on the COVID-19 handling, and we deeply appreciate that kind of leadership. I know it doesn't always go, it's not always popular, but for us that are in the business, we appreciate that you're doing it. And that's not an easy thing for us to do. So having said that, I'm going to turn this over now to our 5-minute video so I can go get my bonbons and get some coffee and donuts. No, just kidding. But we do have a 5-minute video if you can persevere. And hopefully you'll be able to hear this loud and clear.
And welcome to Smart Recovery, the world's largest community of self-empowering addiction recovery support meetings. We started in 1994 as a small nonprofit with only 42 group meetings, and have since grown to thousands of face-to-face meetings all over the US and around the world. We also offer daily online meetings, including Zoom video conferencing, 24/7 chat rooms, online message boards, blogs, and much, much more. Best part is, it's free of charge. SMART's mutual support, self-empowering, science, and evidence-based approach to recovery has saved countless lives over more than a quarter century. And it's our mission to save millions more over the decades to come. We've been recognized and endorsed by leading government and medical institutions worldwide. But more importantly, we know what you're going through to gain independence from things like opioids, alcohol, or other addictive substances, as well as problematic activities like excessive gambling, eating, sex, shopping, and internet use. Our central philosophy is discover the power of choice. There are no labels here like alcoholic or junkie. We see addiction as a behavioral problem that can be changed and resolved without judgment, blame, or shame. So how does Smart Recovery work? Well, we showed you how to use our proven tools and techniques drawn from many effective approaches to recovery, including cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, and mindfulness and various relaxation techniques. Your recovery is all about realizing your strengths and building upon them. And to do that, we help you use our 4-point program and tools to help you learn to build and maintain motivation, cope with urges, manage your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and live a balanced life. The key is that we don't try to fit you in a box. We know that every recovery method is unique, just like every person is unique. For instance, many people combine SMART with other recovery strategies like meditation, mindfulness, or 12-step programs like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. Whatever it takes, our mission is to help you achieve success. But that's just the start. SMART also has a family and friends program for those who are caring for a loved one with addictive behavior. We also provide stigma-free support for people with opioid use disorders who are recovering with the help of medications such as methadone and buprenorphine. SMART's Correctional Institution program, Inside Out, which we developed with the National Institute on Drug Abuse, is used in hundreds of prisons to help inmates recover from addictive and criminal behavior. We also have special programs for teens and young adults. We're on college campuses across America, as well as in the top psychiatric hospitals. Lastly, we also help military veterans address their addictive behaviors and PTSD. Wherever there's a need, Smart Recovery is there to help. As you look into our programs, there are some things that you should know, like, do we consider addiction to be a disease? There's a big debate over this. Smart Recovery has no position on this issue, except to say that our approach works, whether you believe addiction is a disease or not. And no, Smart Recovery is not only for atheists or agnostics. While religion and spirituality are not a part of the Smart Recovery approach itself, we encourage anyone to incorporate whatever belief systems they have into their recovery plan. Also, keep in mind that Smart Recovery is abstinence oriented. We are not a moderation program. We want to help you stop harmful addictive behaviors. But we also know that not everyone using our program is going to be 100% abstinent 100% of the time. Recovery can be a long journey, and hey, slip-ups happen. We can all learn from them. The point is we pick ourselves back up and move on. If you want to learn more about Smart Recovery or find a Smart meeting in your area, it's all here on our website. We have great materials available for purchase at our online bookshop, like our Smart Recovery Handbook. Search for face-to-face meetings in your area. If you can't find one, start one. We offer excellent online training courses for you to become a Smart Recovery meeting facilitator in under 2 months. Or just join our online meetings, access our message boards, blogs, or whatever you might find useful in your recovery. Thanks for stopping by, and stick around, because much like your recovery, the best is yet to come.
Thank you, Ellie. And our intent of this 5 minutes was to give you a very good condensed version of some of the things to know about Smart Recovery, but we will go into a little bit deeper. But if anybody has any direct question right now, feel free to ask while we have just completed that. Otherwise, I'm going to go on for another 2 hours, and you don't want that. So if you have questions, that would help. So just otherwise, I'm going to kind of go through a walkthrough of the organization with you, just to give you an appreciation of our organizational structure. And this is not meant to be overwhelming, making you dizzy and all that. Okay, question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Joyce Starr. In your abstinence definition, does it include medication-assisted therapies?
The use of the word therapies, Christy, you can address this a little bit more defined, but we do not provide the therapy aspect of service. We accept individuals that are receiving MAT professional prescriptions and prescribed care. So, but we don't give the therapy ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so go ahead, Alicia.
Yeah, so the first presentation from the individual from the armed services, is there any specific programming for folks, veterans, or individuals that are currently in the armed services?
So we have numerous variants to our group programs that we do, but it's all the same core training. So there isn't a specific set of different rules or program guidelines that we use specifically for veterans. It's the same core training that we use in all of our facilitation meetings. So that the one that I was exposed to was being offered at the VA as a closed meeting for veterans themselves, but the training of Smart Recovery was exactly the same that you would see from any online meeting or face-to-face meeting anywhere in the country.
And in your experience, do you see a lot of those meetings at the VA happening with Smart Recovery?
They are growing exponentially for a very good reason. Speaking as a veteran myself, I know Lise could probably attest to this as well. Veterans adhere to this program because of its direct nature. The veteran community, when presented with a problem, likes to be addressed with that problem directly, with answers that can directly be attached to that problem. When asked to take things abstractly or to be brought in to even something on faith to deal with issues, it becomes a challenge for a lot of veterans because it goes against what we were trained to do as soldiers, as airmen, as Marines, as sailors, to be self-sufficient. And that's part of the core of every single armed forces, is that every participant should be self-sufficient in managing their own problems. So when battling something as personal as addiction, it becomes very difficult to ask to be taking things on faith. So with Smart Recovery, being that it's evidence-based and there are set guidelines and tools that we can adhere to, it becomes something that we become very passionate about very quickly, because it's something that we understand and that we're used to because of the training that we've received.
And Alicia, if I could respond just as a follow-up to what Mike had laid down. When I first joined, Christy introduced me to the individuals that we've been working with in the Cleveland Veterans Administration. And what you come to realize is that I think veterans in general are very 12-step oriented. And I'm not talking about just Cleveland, but there is almost like a 12-step mindset. And for SMART to break in, so to speak, it takes some politicking, it takes some patience and perseverance. But with our efforts with the local Cleveland, we have been able to very nicely improve that depth. We have individuals that have become SMART trained. And again, it's one of our criteria is that you actually go through a certified training program. That's part of it. But there's also just the dynamics of the politics that we're trying to break through. But we are making very good progress, including Mike's work with domiciles in the Cleveland to actually work with a SMART meeting online. And this is where they're at a time right now where there's a lot of open schedules. They're not able to do all the things that they were doing face to face as they were. So they're seeking activities to help them take up their time. So using their veterans provided hardware, a tablet, we're able to run SMART meetings, and starting August 9th, we'll be starting that process with them. It is our hope that we could take that program and extend that to Dayton and to Columbus and elsewhere in Ohio as part of that footprint once we get that established. So we are making, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you'll hear me say that thousands of times, but we are making good progress in our pursuit of that.
It's good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like that at
Go ahead.
some point before we wrap up in the next 25 minutes, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your work in jails and prisons as well.
Okay. That would be ideal, and we appreciate that, Lori. Is it okay if I call you Lori instead of director?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. I wanted just to briefly speak about this particular org chart in the sense that we are worldwide. And when I came on board, as worldwide as we are a virtual secret. My executive director predecessor has done a wonderful job of bringing SMART for the number of years that she has led and brought us from nowhere to where we're at. But we have a lot of work to quite literally not become that secret. And our work is with your help and with the support from other financial sources, it's working. We're making that progress in our outreach and in the various ways that we do that now with professionals. Our organization's built with the United States, and I have that responsibility. Everyone here, they're kind of my bosses. They make me feel at times that I have a little bit of say, but quite literally they'll tell me what to do. And then I think on the other side, we have our international group, and that international group has responsibility for oversight on a number of things, but also in helping to organize the countries that are part of our model. And we continue to grow with adding new countries, and that's part of our growth model, is to become very much almost across the world in a large way. We have advisory committees, and these are not just individuals that have peer lived life. These are individuals that are coming from the science and medical communities that help advise the content of our materials. Our programs are science and evidence-based, but they are delivered and packaged in a way that they make sense for people. The tools they just make sense. They're not overwhelmingly scientific, but whether it's the cognitive behavioral therapy or other things that Christy's going to speak of, we have an element of that. We also have a national office staff made up of our own administrative as well as professionals, but we also have professionals in marketing communications that we didn't have before. So we're growing as an organization to try that outreach to get more and more going. And that is done by a lot of volunteers that are part of our online community and our face-to-face. And Melina herself is a direct responsibility for helping those individuals to be more successful. That is a part of our mantra. So all of this we have another part, which is not trivial to us. the treatment professionals are important to SMART. We know that they have certain programs that they run. And again, we want to make sure that they're aware of SMART so that they can choose that offering for an individual that might line up better with our philosophies. So while we are very peer support oriented, we are also very focused on treatment professionals and trying to get the word out to that large, important group. So is there any questions about the organization here before I move on?
I was going to say, I can address Director Chris's question quickly with the jails and prisons, because I did a lot with jails and prisons with the drug courts. That's one of the things that impressed me with SMART when I first heard about it was the Australian study, the things that are going on in Texas, some of the things that are going on around the world and across the country that we can bring back here. With the courts, we have to have an alternative to AA. It's a well-settled constitutional issue. And so jails and prisons, kind of a similar dynamic. There's a lot of work going on in that area. There's a new handbook that a couple of our coordinators, our volunteers in Texas have put together, successful life skills. That's very exciting. And we're working with the Ohio Supreme Court specialty dockets to explore more partnerships on how to bring this, because as you know, each judge, it's his docket, right? So so to bring it out to each of the courts to let them know about this, especially in this time of COVID where folks are having trouble getting to meetings, they're having trouble getting to see their PO in this environment, to hopefully divert more folks whose primary reason that they're gotten caught up in this web is their addiction, and get them the treatment that they need.
And Lise, thank you. And we do want to be respectful to your time. And I might have taken up a little bit more for my dialogue. So if we need to have some very dedicated time, Lori, we would be very happy to follow up. And just for your benefit, we did meet with, I believe it was Daryl Graves and John Sexton when we did visit Columbus, and we had a brief discussion with them. We'd be very happy to circle back around through a Zoom call and have more dialogue for sure. So we can go into that deeper. But otherwise, Christy, if you can, would you take care of going through some of the additional points that we want to make? And I apologize if I took up more time.
Sure. So I'll just briefly touch on what are some of the things that make Smart Recovery different. And as we know, Smart Recovery is evidence and science-based. And what this means is that our program evolves as evidence-based practice evolves. SMART addresses some of the inaccurate or unhealthy ways of thinking that people sometimes have, and helps them develop healthier ways of thinking about themselves, the world, and other people. I want to touch on our abstinence-oriented part of our program and the way that we describe ourselves. This is important because what it means is that people are welcome to come to our meetings regardless of which stage of change they are in. So this might be a husband who his wife told him, you better get help for your drinking, you better do something about it or I'm leaving. So he might drink every night, 12-pack of beer, and he might show up to a SMART meeting and say, you know what, I'm not really sure I have a problem. I'm still gonna drink a couple beers a night. I'm not really convinced I have a problem. He is welcome to stay at our meetings, even though he's not totally abstinent. Additionally, somebody might have a relapse or a lapse. We encourage them to come back so that we can help them figure out what might have caused that lapse. As far as medication-assisted treatment, since our inception 25 years ago, we have welcomed individuals who have chosen MAT as part of their plan for recovery. So as long as it's legally prescribed by a physician, then that's fine with us. Same with psychiatric medications. We have actually received calls in our office from individuals who have been taking either of these and ended up in the hospital when other programs have told them, stop taking all of these medications. You're not allowed to take it if you're coming to our meetings, which is really sad. but that's not the case with SMART. Talking about the First Amendment in courts, we know that individuals who have a choice in their recovery options experience better outcomes. Some of the criminal justice populations haven't been provided with those choices, but the appeals in the state Supreme Courts have repeatedly ruled that requiring individuals to attend a 12-step meeting violates the First Amendment rights of the individuals because of the religious component of a 12-step meeting. SMART is an excellent option for individuals who are looking for a meeting that does not contain the religious component because we don't incorporate a higher power, and we also don't rely on sponsors. We get asked that question quite a bit. We teach individuals tools and techniques based on our 4-point program. So it's almost like people are carrying around their own toolbox so they can pull from it whatever they need. So if they are having an urge, they can work a tool that will help them work through that urge. But the important part to remember is that we still have that peer support. So when they attend a meeting, they still have that connection with other people, and we have that crosstalk, so they're able to share through our meetings, also through our online community where we have discussion boards. We have meetings that they can really attend online almost 24 hours a day. And also, as the video mentioned, individuals aren't required to attend meetings for the rest of their lives, only as long as they are helpful to them. So that's the self-empowering aspect. If you can go on to the next slide, I think we're done here.
Christy,
Yes.
are the meetings that, I know originally when we were meeting, are all of your meetings done online? Even, because I think you guys were doing online meetings well before COVID-19. Are all of the meetings online, or are you integrating both? I see from the picture, it looks like some of the meetings are in person, some of the meetings are online.
Yeah, so at one point, I don't think we had, for a long time, for the last 23 years, I think we had our online community, which those are our national meetings. Prior to COVID, we had about 40 weekly online meetings nationally. When COVID hit, we increased them. Our wonderful volunteers saw the need to increase our national online meetings to about 57 per week. When COVID hit, we were able to switch our face-to-face in-person meetings, almost 600 of those, to online of our face-to-face meetings. So some of them have started to migrate back to face-to-face, a very small number of those if they have felt comfortable, but a majority of them are still all online right now.
And how have you seen the outcomes and participation of those meetings online as opposed to face-to-face? Are there any lessons learned or challenges that you face that you've been able to overcome?
Sure. You know, we don't track our attendance at the meetings that aren't national. Now, our national meetings, there is a huge increase. So thankfully, we have increased the number of those, and we've seen a huge increase. And we do track those numbers because we provide verifications for court systems for individuals who are interested or need those. Our face-to-face who have gone online, we don't track that attendance. And, you know, we've received feedback from individuals. Some people like it, some people miss the face-to-face, and we've made adjustments right from the onset of the COVID crisis. We formed a COVID task force, and we were meeting every single day to address any issues that came up within the organization. So we were making adjustments as needed. We now meet weekly still, and we're currently just providing support or making adjustments, making announcements to any of our volunteers on anything that's needed to be changed or updated throughout this whole process.
I can actually add to that.
I can too, so.
I can actually, Alicia, I can actually add some feedback to that because I'm still in contact with my facilitator team back in New Jersey. I actually just saw them 2 weeks ago. I went on a trip there. And one of the advantages that we've had moving the face-to-face meetings online is that we've combined face-to-face communities that before this were not involved with each other. For instance, in New Jersey, there were 3 meetings separate from each other in Bergen and Passaic County, Hackensack, Clifton, and Patterson Town meetings. All 3 of those groups now meet together so that those facilitators and those participants who previously didn't know each other, who had no ties to each other, are now a much tighter community. So we've used this terrible pandemic as an advantage for those suffering through this addiction to grow these communities together by bringing these face-to-face meetings as a conglomerate online. So that's something that we have seen as a positive achievement with the face-to-face communities on a local level.
And I would also like to add, because I talked to all of the volunteers across the country, there's really been a mixed bag of participants attending these meetings. So brand new people who never made it to a meeting. So having a local online meeting, you're not affected by lack of transportation or social phobias or those kinds of things. So we have new participants coming. Some of the issues that have been reported to me is the privacy thing has been very hard for people to participate in meetings online. You're in a house with everyone you love around you. It's kind of hard to talk openly. But, you know, we've had people tell us they're going out and sitting in their cars or going out in their yard or things like that. So I think it's been well received. I'm so impressed with how quickly we were able to move everything online, and the facilitators have really, really shown their appreciation for that.
And our volunteers really stepped up to help increase the meetings, and our volunteers who are normally face-to-face facilitators were able to train for this new world, and that's been amazing.
Have you heard that some of the individuals were running out of minutes or not having enough bandwidth? And how did you overcome those challenges?
I don't myself recall that that's even been brought up in our COVID groups as it relates to logistical issues, Alicia. I'm not sure that I've heard that yet, but maybe Melina, you might have picked that up from some of your communications with volunteers. Are you hearing that?
I know that we were concerned about that from the very beginning of what about those people. It doesn't seem to have been reported as a big issue because they're able to dial in, not just do the Zoom video. So I think that's helped a lot.
And I know some of the cell phone companies were providing extra free data during the first couple of months of the crisis. So that may have helped.
And Zoom in general is one of the better solutions that requires a smaller amount of bandwidth to be able to run and join in on. So that is one of their differentiators themselves from a technology standpoint. So that might also be helping. By the way, Alicia, our online meetings that we call national, when we speak of meeting counts, I'm befuddled at how we can run individuals 200, 300 come to these meetings. But we have had very good media people that have actually gone in to research those meetings and have spoken very favorably about how well they are run. So even though it's a large number.
That was going to be my next question, Mark. If you cap the meetings at all, or you just let the meetings leave them open and whomever shows up. But I wondered if there was any kind of lesson learned or any type of information from the amount of folks. When does the meeting get to the point where there's too many people on either the Zoom meeting or the call-in option? So that's good to know.
And it does depend on the type of meeting and the facilitator. So a couple different things. I don't want to take up too much more time. You can see the information on our Family and Friends program. You can see our global recognition. We talked about the converted meetings. I do want to address Director Chris's questions on our prison and jail program real quickly before I turn this over to my colleague Melina. She can speak to our outreach in the Lake County Jail, but our Inside Out program designed for the prison system is based off of our 4 points, and it addresses the 5th point, which is the criminal thinking. I do believe we have it in 2 prison systems in the state of Ohio currently, which the names escape me, so I apologize. I checked on it maybe a month or 2 ago for some other research. But we do, right now, we have it throughout the US, in the federal prisons in Canada, we're implementing it. It's all over the world. The research is phenomenal. The outcomes are amazing. There was a huge study done in Australia, and the half of the group who had attended 10 Smart Recovery meetings out of this group showed a 42% reduction in violent crimes and a 21% reduction in recidivism 2 years post-release. So the outcomes were tremendous. So that's the information that I'll just share with you real quickly. And we'll move on to Melina.
What was the second factor, recidivism percentage?
The recidivism was 21% reduction.
Thank you.
Was that your question?
Yes, thank you.
Right.
I just want to say I'm going to pop off and you may be speaking. I've got an event to get to at 11:30, a call to get to. So I appreciate all of the information, and I know that you're in good hands with Sharon and Zendaya and Joyce and Alicia and all the others on our team. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so my job here is to just kind of talk about what we've been doing so far in our own area as far as outreach goes. I'm not going to flip through I'm going to flip through all the slides and move through pretty quickly, but feel free to ask me questions. Government, Mark kind of touched on this, working with our local governments and our state governments, we've been able to kind of spread the word about us. Getting that support has been key to brand recognition for us. Do you want to flip to the next one for me?
Yeah, we will have another meeting at 11:30. So
Okay.
Okay, I'll rush through.
The majority of us do.
Yeah,
I was just going to say that.
Okay, so community centers, we've done a lot of outreach to community centers. And again, maybe Allie, if you just want to flip through to that criminal justice slide. So I can touch on that piece with the Lake County jail treatment program that we've been doing. Christy and I were presenting there to the people who were involved in that program. And prior to COVID-19, we were no longer allowed to go in. And the impact that it seemed to have on the inmates there. One of the biggest things that I saw during that made the biggest difference to them was that relapse happens, and with SMART, you're not penalized for that. It's, if you're traveling from New York to California and you get a flat tire in Michigan, you're not going to turn around to New York and start over. You're going to fix what happened in Michigan and then move forward. And that's kind of what really seemed to resonate with those people in that setting. What else do we got? Treatment centers. We've done a lot of outreach with the treatment centers and received a lot of really good feedback. Windsor Laurelwood Hospital is one of our local mental health and addictions hospitals. And even throughout COVID-19, they've continued to keep in touch going, yes, we really want to bring SMART in as we reevaluate what we do. Let's not lose the momentum there. So, yeah. Mark, I'll hand it back to Mark to talk about this.
Again, with your support, and certainly that included Governor DeWine's public recognition of SMART, as well as directors that speak of SMART in the work online. We've been able to continue that branding that is so important to us, but we couldn't have done it without, again, a lot of your financial support as well as your partnership. Again, Sharon and Zendaya have been awesome. I only want to point out that we are in today's family and the News Herald, and these are first for us as an organization. So our outreach is working. We didn't start really with our work until quite effectively in September. We didn't start in July and August. We started in September, and then in March we got hit with COVID, and that just took us off our outreach. So quite literally, we were into a compressed year last year, and now we're into a COVID year also. So we're going to continue to press on. I'm going to just close this out by thanking you for the open exchange throughout this presentation, and we'll make sure we pass this link on to you as well as the actual PowerPoint, so you have that available to yourselves. Is there any other closing questions? Because I'm happy to address those.
No,
If you could-
go ahead, Alicia.
I just wanted to ask to see if we could have a copy of the Australia study.
Yep. Okay.
Great to have. Go ahead, Joyce.
Absolutely.
And this is Joyce. I just wanted to thank you for your time and all of your energy. Very much appreciated. And I too am looking forward to seeing that report as well. I do need to sign off along with Alicia. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.